have made it to another year of March, which means we are going to talk a lot of basketball today, both college and professional. We'll also focus on the hot streaks of some of these Texas spring sports, and of course, we'll have our weekly pick'ems at the end. All this and so much more coming up on the 1-0 Sports Show.
We're going to have an exciting show. We're going to talk about the NFL divisional round and what we expect from it. We talk about Texas's inconsistent start in Big 12 play for men's basketball. We'll finish with some talk about our women's basketball team. So we got a packed show today.
I got to go the other way. You know, Texas A&M, they got a lot of identity issues. Are they an agricultural school? Are they military? Are they blue collar? Are they academics? They're all over the place. So
now, I'm always a sucker for a one-handed catch. I have tiny hands. I need 3 of them just to catch a football. So this one-handed grab in the end zone, that's just super impressive in my eyes. That's going to be my play of the week.
Mayo pour on college game day. Look at this. Just the guy and the North Carolina, South Carolina game. He's just straight eating it, shirt off, rubbing it on his body.
Hey, listen, the Cinderella story ends here, Texans. I'm sorry, man. The chariots turns back into the pumpkin. It struck midnight. Whatever you want to say, I think it ends here.
But before we get started, today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. Now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the show. Let's start off with our who's hot and who's not. I'm going to start off with my who's hot with the Houston Cougars basketball. They've won 11 of their last 12 with wins over BYU, against Texas, Iowa State, and Baylor. In fact, they actually won 2 games against Texas. Kelvin Sampson has this team absolutely rolling heading into March, and they're assuredly going to be one of my Final Four picks. I really like what they have going on in Houston with LJ Cryer, Jamal Shead. I really think that this team is poised for a deep run in March. Obviously, they're the number 1 overall seed right now, but I really think that they're going to make a deep run this season. Santi, who's your
Goose, I think that's a pretty good who's hot. I'm going to switch it over to the professional side. For my who's hot this week, I have LeBron James. Last night, the Lakers were able to defeat the Washington Wizards in overtime, but on Wednesday, he had this game against the Clippers where the Lakers were down 21 points in the 4th quarter, and LeBron scored 19 in the 4th. And he's showing us that at 39 years old, he can still put on that cape and still be Superman for any team. Here he is with the heat check, and it's just too easy for him. I mean, we'll see if the Lakers can make a run. It's not looking like it's going to be their year with the lack of depth that they have, but for LeBron to be doing this at the age that he's at, you know, it's fun to watch, and I think I'm going to miss it a lot when he retires. So LeBron, it's got to be my hot player of the week, and also, not just the scoring, but he also had the defense right here. Right here is just, this is his signature shot, you know, some like to refer to as the Le3. But, and right here at the end of the game, he played the defense on Kawhi too. And this is a rivalry that's been kind of an underrated one since LeBron joined the Lakers with the Clippers. So for him to get that against the Clippers, biggest comeback of his career, by the way, in the 4th quarter. So my who's hot's got to be LeBron.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous performance to watch live. To see him do it at 39 years old is pretty ridiculous. Moving over to the who's not, I'm going to stick with the Big 12 in basketball, and I got to go with Texas Tech. They lost a game to Texas this week in kind of embarrassing fashion, both in decorum and on the court. They're 3-6 in their last 9 games, with double-digit losses to Texas, UCF, as well as losses to Cincinnati and TCU. This is a team that was ranked as high as 15 at one point this season, and they have just since collapsed to the bottom. I mean, Tech has to get it figured out, and quickly, if they want to extend their run late into March, potentially make the NCAA tournament and get into that second weekend. But I really don't think that Texas Tech is going to be a team to look for in March, especially to collapse at this point in the season, heading into the Big 12 tournament with March Madness coming up around the corner. I really don't think Texas Tech is a team to be worried about. They have not been playing their best basketball, so that's my who's not.
Yeah, that was not a great game for Texas Tech on Tuesday, but back over to the professional side for my who's not. I have a little bit of a creative one here. I'm going to go with Jordan Poole. So this guy's been on a lot of lowlights this year. He's going to be the Shaqting champion, but so if you just look right here, just careless turnovers going all around. And last night, he actually played a pretty good game up until the overtime, where here on the fast break, he goes up for the layup, and he's just smothered by LeBron James. Get that out of here. And then later in the game, Kyle Goosman passes out to him for the 3. to take the lead, and he airballs. Jordan Poole, it's just not been a great season. I know he's reminiscing on those Warriors days, but you got to feel bad for the guy. I know he had a rough shake-up with the Warriors when he left them, but since he's left, he's just had a lot of turnovers, very careless ball. I think he has a little bit too big of a head on his shoulders. He thinks he can carry the team. Jordan Poole's got to be my who's not for this week.
Don't worry, Jordan. You're still my guy. I still reminisce on those Warriors days just like you do. Don't worry. Let's move on to the what's trending. Obviously, with March Madness coming up around the corner, men's and women's hoops have really been heating up. Who right now is your favorite on the men's side to win it all?
Yeah, I have a really dark horse pick here. I'm going to go with Iowa State. I like the Cyclones. I've seen things from them early on in the season. Now I know that their two big wins against Houston and Kansas have been at home. But I really believe in the depth of this team. I saw them in person when they played against Texas, and they really they have great defense. And where they struggle is their offense and shot making, but I think that can pick up in the tournament. And March, we all know that March is about Cinderella stories and getting hot at the right time. And I believe that this Iowa State team can go into the Big 12 tournament, gain some momentum, and find a rhythm in March. And you know, we love upsets in March, so that's why I'm picking the Cyclones. This is kind of out of left field pick, but I like them this year. I really like Milan Momcilovic. They're my dark horse.
I like that pick. That is a team that's going to be like a 2, maybe a 3 seed, could definitely make a run to the Final Four. I really like that pick a lot. For me, though, I got to stick with Houston. I know I was talking about them earlier, but I really, really do like this team. They've been on the precipice of making it to the championship for a few years now. They've had a couple of chances. They've got to the Final Four just recently, but this team plays smothering defense. And in March, you have to find multiple ways to win. Not only do they have shot makers, like I said, and LJ Cryer and Jamal Shed, who can both go for 20, even 30 if they really get hot on a given night, but they also just play such good defense. They can win in so many different ways. They can turn you over and win a low-scoring 51-55 ball game. They can win a high-scoring 85-80 ball game. They can win in a lot of different ways, and I think that's what you need come March. I really like what Kelvin Sampson has this team looking like right now. I know they're the #1 overall seed. It's not the sexiest pick, but I really do like what Houston's doing right now.
Yeah, that's a great team. But, Justin, who on the women's side is your pick for the national championship?
Once again, I mean, I got to go with the favorite. In women's basketball, it's really hard to pick a non-conventional favorite. It feels like, for the most part, the favorites get it done, and South Carolina is just unbeatable. They are so good on so many levels. Dawn Staley has their team ready for a revenge tour. Obviously, they got knocked out last year, but I don't think, as great as Caitlin Clark is, I don't think she can pull it off once again this year if those teams were to match up late in March. I think that South Carolina's made too many improvements. They shoot the ball much better than they did last year. They still play amazing defense. So, once again, it's not the flashiest pick. It's not someone that you didn't expect, but I got to go with South Carolina.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to disagree with you, because if you want to talk about favorites, I'll give you a favorite. I will give you Caitlin Clark. She is just about, the favorite sports figure in the entire world right now. She's heating up everywhere. Fans all over the world traveling to see her. And, this isn't really an analytical pick. I just think she is by far proven herself to be the best player in the women's game. I think that shooting is a thing that carries into the tournament, and that if she is able to be lifted up by her teammates, unlike she was last year in that championship against LSU, I think they can make a deep run. I think for them, the main issue is rebounding and defense. I know she's kind of been a defensive liability, but when she can get up there with her scoring, I think they can beat any single team on the women's side. And at the end of the day, I just can't bet against Caitlin Clark. You can't, Mahomes and Brady, I think Caitlin Clark might be getting added to that list.
The difference between Mahomes and Brady and Caitlin Clark is those guys have a ring and Caitlin doesn't. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on to our MVP picks in the NBA this season. Santi, do you want to start us off
Yeah,
here?
I'll start us off. I think, for me, it's a pretty easy pick. I think I have Luka Doncic. He's just been, by far, the best player in the NBA. He's scoring the most points, and he's also the way he facilitates on the court is a beauty to watch for his teammates. The Mavs are also, they're going to pick up some momentum following this All-Star break. They just traded for Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington, and Luka's averaging 34.4 points a game with 9.7 assists, 8.8 rebounds, almost a triple-double. And what this guy's doing at 25 years old, I mean, it's remarkable. You've got all types of highlights like this. And with the Mavs, we all know without him that they would barely be a play-in team. He's really having to put them on their back. So I think Luka is due. I think he's been in the league for this long, and he's kind of in that spot where he hasn't had that championship yet. I don't think people are really ready to embrace that he may be the best player in the league.
I like that pick, but for me, I think it has to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is an award in the NBA that has goalposts that seem to consistently move. Is it the best player in the league? Is it the best player on the best team in the league? Well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is making a case for both right now. The best player in the league at 26 years old, and he's having one of the best seasons in the NBA. Not only that, but this team is one of the youngest in the NBA, and they're sitting at second in the Western Conference. They were first until yesterday when they dropped a tough game against the San Antonio Spurs. But in one of the toughest conferences that we've seen in recent memory here in the Western Conference, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 31 a game on 55% from the field and 39% from three. I mean, we have to honor the spirit of this award. It's the most valuable player, and if you take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off of this Oklahoma City Thunder squad, I don't even know if they're a top 10 seed. I don't even think they make the play-in. So that's where you have to give me, in my opinion, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because he's the most valuable, he's making a case for the best, and he's on a roster that wouldn't otherwise compete if he wasn't there. So I got to go with SGA. I don't think Luka's a bad pick, but I think they're in comparable situations where if you take both of them off their team, they're going to be pretty bad. But with them on the squad, SGA has his team performing at a little bit of a higher level right now. So I got to go with SGA. But I think that's going to wrap us up for A Block here. When we come back on B Block, we're going to have our verses with Stella Laitmna on to judge our top plays of the week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the 1-0 Sports Show. Did I get your name right? Okay, cool. Sweet. welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. We are here for our B block, our versus with Stella Laitmna on to judge. Stella, how are you doing this morning?
Super excited to be here. Let's hop into it.
Yeah, great to have you here. Let's get right into it. For our first versus, we have our best NBA play of the week. Santi, do you want to start us off? Or
I think I can start us off because my play is going to be a little bit more mundane than the play that Goose has, but I still like it. So I'm going to go with Paulo Banchero's game winner against the Detroit Pistons. Paulo Banchero, he had a rough game in this game, shot 5 for 17, but right here he threw up a prayer right at the end of the game, hit the step back all over the Pistons on the road, and to save the Magic from losing to the Pistons, that's enough for me to give him the highlight. But also just this tough shot. Look at that angle that he shoots at to kind of throw it over the shoulder of the Pistons player. That'd be my NBA highlight of the week because I don't know if there's anything topping what's coming up next.
Santi, I don't know. That looked like a travel to me. I don't know about you.
I don't think the refs called it.
His feet. For my play, obviously, there was a play this week in the NBA that tops all the others, and that is Max Strus versus the Dallas Mavericks. Down 10 with like 3 minutes to go in the game. Obviously, the Mavericks are down 1. Luka gets the inbound, finds P.J. Washington for the dunk. The Cavaliers have no timeouts. So they give it to Max Strus for a full-court prayer.
Bang.
The second longest game-winning shot in NBA history. I had to go with Max Strus. I mean, if that isn't the play of the week, I don't know what would be, to be completely honest. So we're going to turn it over to you to judge who you think has the best play this week.
I would have to agree with you on Max Strus. I think being down 10 with 3 minutes left you're automatically at a disadvantage, and he really showed up and proved himself.
He had 15 points in the fourth quarter. He shot 5 for 5 on threes.
I mean, with a heat check that beats all other heat checks, that was ridiculous. Let's go ahead and move on to some college hoops, the best college highlight of the week. And I guess I can go ahead and start us off here. If there was anybody on Wednesday night or Thursday night, I can't quite remember, that happened to be a Mavericks fan and a Colorado State fan, please pray for them. Because there was another game-winning half-court shot this week from Nevada to knock off Colorado State in a huge conference game. And that had to be my play of the week. There's something about a half-court game winner that just gets me going.
Yeah.
And like I said, if anyone out there happens to be a Mavs fan and a Colorado State fan, I hope that they're still with us, because that would be a really tough night to watch both of your teams.
Those happened within 2 hours of each other.
Yeah.
Too. But I'm not really a fan of this half-court gimmick. I'm gonna have to go with a more normal. Just such a tough play right here. Oklahoma State, they were up in this game by 1. They lose the ball on offense, and right over here, Javian McCollum, he's kind of lost. He's getting clamped up, and he's got to step back. He's got to throw up a prayer, and it's answered, and he hits this game winner. That is the end of Bedlam from now on. This is going to be the last time. And you see the fans. They're a little bit mad. They're a little bit discontent with that game winner. This was a game that OU trailed in the whole time on the road in an intense environment against a young Oklahoma State team. And just for that shot, man, that was like a 100% contested, smothered shot. I think that had to be my play of the week. I got up from the couch watching that, and that's OU. As a Texas fan, if an OU play gets me excited, I think it's got to be the play of the week.
I'm going to have to go with Nevada versus the Colorado State half-court shot. I think getting a half-court shot in and of itself is nearly impossible, and I think it's great that under that pressure, being able to do that, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, something about a half-court shot, especially in college, when the fans go crazy, or like what you showed in the Oklahoma State game, like nothing's better than sad college fans after a tough game winner. Moving over to baseball, my play of the week is going to come from the Washington State versus TCU game. Kyle Russell, on the first pitch of the game, smashes this ball. Looks like it's at least 400 yards. A leadoff home run, very first pitch of the game. Something about a leadoff home run, don't know exactly what it is, but I feel like you don't see those much anymore. And the fans are barely in the stands already for that game, and to smash one out of the park, that's got to be my play of the week. What about you, Santi?
All right, well, if you want to see somebody smashing hits, I'm going to give you Texas's Jalen Flores. This guy had 6 RBIs, including this grand slam in the fourth inning against St. John's in what would be a 15-4 win for the Longhorns. Not only for Jalen Flores, he's only a sophomore, and then he gets another 2-run home run right here, and they're just easy for him, and he's banging these far. Right into that Yeti yard, which if Longhorn fans haven't experienced that, they need to go do it. You can show up to the game whenever you want, bring whatever you want. It's a fun experience, but Texas Longhorn baseball, they're balling. Jalen Flores, he's balling. He's looking like he's going to be a top MLB draft prospect. But so yeah, that was my play of the week this week.
Hard to argue against Jalen Flores leading Texas to a 15-4 win over St. John's. I'd have to give you the play of the week.
All right, Santi, 2-1. Now let's go over into the NHL or other sport sphere. I had to go with a hockey highlight. This is a pretty ridiculous goal here from Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators. Puck gets smacked into the air, doesn't even look at the goal, smacks it back between the legs of the defender and into the net. I mean,
that's crazy.
I'm not even the biggest hockey fan in the world, but that is so impressive.
So awesome.
Like how do you have the wherewithal to do that? The puck's flying at 70 or 80 miles per hour, and you're able to hit it behind you through the legs of the goalie. That was my play of the week from the other sport, or in my opinion, I think you got to go with hockey in that one, but I got to go with Shane Pinto.
Well, I'm going with other sport, but I just got to say, Goose, I don't really like this. Like, you kind of got some lucky shots in these highlights. I'm not really sure if these could be recreated, but I'm going to go with soccer. Not exactly a play here, but look at Messi, his knowledge of the game. So Messi, he calls out which side that this guy's going to hit a PK on. He guesses before he tells his goalkeeper, and he's right, and the goalkeeper gets the save. Messi's in MLS, but that knowledge of the game, really out there proving that he's the GOAT, balling at every single level that he's played in. That was my highlight of the others.
I think hockey is such an exciting sport that we do not cover enough here. And I think that Shane Pinto smacking the puck into the goal mid-air is pretty hard to beat. I think that is an awesome play, and I have to give it to you.
Bang. All right, Santi, that's 3-1. We only got one more question left.
I'm liking my last highlight for this last question, though.
All
So
right.
I'll take some consolidation.
Moving on to the biggest blooper, or mine's a ref mistake. This one was tough for me because obviously, in terms of magnitude of the game, I think the Matty Booker travel that they called was really hard to swallow. But I think the worst call in general had to come from the Pistons-Knicks game. And Asar Thompson comes away with the steal, and Dante DiVincenzo turns into a middle linebacker, taking out his legs, and the refs don't make a call. Josh Hart hits the game-winning layup. Take one more look at this. Here's the steal from Asar Thompson, and Dante just dives at his legs, and the ref is right there to see it. No call? That's crazy. The Pistons end up going on to lose that game. The Pistons have been struggling all year long, but to not get that call is just heartbreaking for a team that's fighting for any possible sign of life at this stage in the season.
Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo looking like Brock Cunningham out there. So I'm going to go with a blooper this week. I had G.G. Jackson and his pump fake. So right here, if you look in the paint, he's just pump fakes like 10 times in a row. Like, I'm not sure what he was doing, if he was glitching out, but this guy just keeps pump faking. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pump fakes. The coach is not happy about it. I'm not really sure what the game plan was there. That's kind of like what you do in the house. You just like 1, 2, 3, 4, like, you know, you're practicing in-game pump. Like, that had to be my blooper. I watched that and was just dying laughing.
Hate to do it, but again, I'm going to have to give it to you. I think that the no call in the Pistons-Knicks game was pretty hard to miss, and I didn't know that the NBA is now the NFL, so crazy.
Yeah, Santi, that's so true, though. That really did look like a 2K glitch, just,
I'm not really sure what his plan was there.
And then he missed the layup. He still had a wide-open layup and couldn't get it to go. But Stella, thank you so much for coming on for our Versus block. We're going to have more later with Stella as she's going to come on for our pick'ems this week. But when we come back, we're going to interview Zach Davis about Texas softball. So don't go anywhere. We have a lot more to get into on the 1-0 Sports Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back in. We are here with our daily Texan softball reporter, Zach Davis. Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Goose. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk some softball. And to the people that haven't watched this team yet, who are the stars to look for, and who are like the pitchers and hitters that you really look for on whenever they step out to the plate?
Well, it's great you asked this question. One thing that this Texas team has done, the coaching staff has done extremely well, is recruit. And that starts at pitching, where Tegan Cavan, who had a 7-inning complete game on Wednesday night against Texas State in a 1-0 victory, did not give up a run. She's yet to give up a run in 22 hits. She is jumped out as the lead pitcher for this Texas team. She has not given up a run in 22 innings. She went 7 innings, by the way, on her birthday on Wednesday, and gave up 2 hits, maybe 1 hit. It was a shutout. She went against. It was a pitching duel. She went against someone who has pitched like 54 innings so far this season, which is leading all of college softball. So Tegan Cavan is the pitcher to watch out for the Longhorns. Hitting. I mean, offensively, Texas is hitting up there with the best in all of college softball. There's not one starter hitting below 300, and they have 3 people hitting above 400 in Reese Atwood, Mia Scott, and Katie Stewart. Katie Stewart is a freshman, Atwood sophomore, and Mia's junior. And before Wednesday, Atwood went 0 for 3 against Texas State, but before that, she was hitting above 680, I believe, which led all of college softball to begin with.
That's impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've seen this Texas softball team. They've had multiple top 5 wins, including against teams like UCLA. Zach, do you think that they can keep up this play for the rest of the season?
You know, it's hard to say that because softball, is such a game of momentum. It's such a game of, like when the bats are hot, they are hot. When the bats aren't, they're not good. Like, you're not going to get the runs up. And, I mean, we've seen it so far. Like, the bats have been hot. And it's hard for me to come up here and say, like, that's not going to, like, I can't say that we should not expect them to stop. Like, they should they've played the number 2 team in the country. They've played the number 9 team in the country. They played the number 13 in the country, and they went 2-1. Like they've been challenged, and it's not like this is like they're 13-1, and it's not like it's a Mickey Mouse 13-1. They've played good teams. Like, they fully earned their record for where they stand today. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think they're going to slow down. They still got they still got to beat number 4 LSU. They got number 12 Florida State before going into Big 12 play, but there's no reason to think they're going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, you just talked about how their schedule continues to get pretty tough. In the Big 12, are there any opponents that you see that are really going to challenge Texas outside of maybe Oklahoma, or is it really just going to be concentrated in the state of Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, let me give you the top 3 right now in college softball. 1 is Oklahoma, 2 is Texas, and 3 is Oklahoma State. So it's really an Oklahoma-Texas sandwich, and it's something that is going to be electric. It's like Oklahoma State. We play them at the end of March, and then we play Oklahoma in the series right after. So that's 6 straight games where we play 2 of the top 3 teams in the country as it stands right now. So coming from a coaching perspective, that's extremely hard to manage. I mean, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are both loaded. They both have tons of talent. So Coach Mike White's going to have to handle a 6-game series that I think will make or break the season. It will set the tone for if Texas can really compete for a World Series. I mean, they lack experience. Texas has a ton of talent, but they lack experience. They have 1 senior who starts. It's mostly freshmen and sophomores on the team. So it'll be hard with all that adversity playing 2 of the top 3 teams in the country. And then after that, they have Texas State, who is not ranked, but they have a top 3, like what I believe to be a top 3 hurler in all of college softball in Mullins. And then they have to go to Waco right after the Texas State game. So they realistically have 10 games where they could, they're going to be challenged in every game. They're going to have pitchers throw a lot of throws. Like, it's going to be hard to manage, and it's going to be up to Texas to see if they can, handle the adversity.
It'll be a really good test for them, though, for sure.
Yeah, Zach, so outside of this Oklahoma-Texas thing that we've got going on, What is the matchup that you're looking at that you're really excited for the Longhorns remaining on the schedule?
Well, it's hard to ignore Oklahoma, right? I mean, it's the Red River rivalry, stretching the streak. Right now, they're both 1 and 2 in the country. They're loaded with talent. They got 11 to 12 girls that can play comfortably. It's just it's hard to ignore Oklahoma, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Oklahoma's they're like the Alabama of softball. They're like the Wisconsin in volleyball of softball. They're so loaded every single year. They make a run every single year. With that being said, Zach, what is your prediction for where this Longhorns team is going to end up come postseason time?
It's a great question because predictions are something we all love to do in sports, and it's hard. Like Texas, not to sound like I'm an unbiased reporter. Texas is loaded. Like they have tons and tons of talent. Someone who's not even playing that much, Leanne Good, was a top 5 player for us last year. I mean, she's coming off injury, but I'm just saying this team has a lot of. They're 13-1, and they got 4 or 5 girls that they can play off the bench and would be successful as anyone else. You know, they have 5 phenomenal pitchers. I mean, Kavan has been a surprise. I think no one really expected. I mean, they got dogs. The only problem though is that they lack experience, which is why the prediction I think comes a little short this year in the College World Series. I think this team has the talent to play, but I mean, to expect this team to go deep in a series, to go 5 games, to go 3 games, to go against Oklahoma, who's got all seniors and juniors. I mean, it's just it's hard to go up against that, and you see it in college basketball or other college sports. A team can be loaded with freshmen. They have a great recruiting class. If they don't have, if they lack experience, they don't really know what to do when adversity happens. So I mean, this team hasn't really seen any struggles, and if they see that come May, it's going to hurt them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree there. It's whenever Zion and R.J. Barrett and all those guys were on that Duke basketball team, they had all the talent in the world, but experience is huge come postseason time. Zach, thanks so much for coming on. It was really great to have you. When we come back on the 1-0 Sports Show, we're going to do some Texas sports analysis, and then we're going to conclude with our pick'ems. Don't go anywhere. We still have another guest to come on. We'll be right back on the 1-0 Sports Show.
back to the 1-0 Sports Show. Right here on this block, we're going to have some Texas sports analysis. So, Goose, with the win against Texas Tech, what do you think the ceiling is for this Texas team, and who would you like to see them face off in the tournament if you could pick any team right now?
Yeah, I think, oh man, it's tough. Because can they make some noise? Absolutely. If the question was, will they, I think I'd be a little bit more hesitant. Because I think Texas can beat almost anyone in the country, but I also think that they can falter to a lot of teams as well. I have confidence that this team can make some noise come tournament time because of a couple of reasons. What benefits Texas is first their experience. Everyone in the rotation has been around the block, both in college basketball and just in the tournament. Max Asmus has notoriously raised his level of play in the tournament. Guys like Brock Cunningham, Tyrese Hunter, and Dylan Dessou have all made tournament appearances and know what the highs and lows of the NCAA tournament feel like, and I don't think that can be understated. If you're an 8 or a 9 seed going up against a less experienced 8 or a 9 seed, then I think you have the advantage there, and Texas definitely has the experience. And last but not least, they're coming from the toughest conference in all of college basketball. The Big 12 is easily the best conference, and that is going to bode really, really well for Texas if they get matched up with a team from the West Coast Conference, like, say, a Gonzaga or a St. Mary's. It may not be first round, but it definitely could be. Gonzaga could get matched up with them in the first round, and I think that that would be a team that Texas would like to face. Obviously, yeah, Mark Few has a lot of experience in the NCAA tournament, but that roster as a whole does not. They're very, very young, and I think Texas could take advantage of a young roster and be able to get a win. So I think their ceiling is the Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8. They would have to get really, really hot if they wanted to make an Elite 8 run, but I think their ceiling is Sweet 16. I think their floor could be out in the first round.
Yeah, when you look at this Texas team, they look like a team, on some days they could make an Elite 8, they could make a Final Four, and then on other days they look like they're not even going to come close to the tournament. So I think that their ceiling is about the round of 32, to be honest. I don't know if they're consistent enough to go on a run in March Madness. I've not yet seen that consistency. But the win against Texas Tech, I will say, gave me a lot of hope for this team. I saw them play really good defense. I saw them get rebounds, which has been a struggle for the team all year. I saw them play well on offense. Lots of motion, lots of swinging the ball, and you know, the fluidity through the offense is going to be something that is key for Texas if they want to win in the tournament. For my matchup, looking at the bracketology, most predictions have Texas at an 8 seed. So with a 9 seed-ish team, I think that they could. I think that they would go well against a team like Michigan State. This is a team that's not been as great as they were in past years. They've played down to competition, including losses to Illinois and JMU. And I think a team like that, that's a team that's kind of middle of the road, similar to a Gonzaga that has a long-time great coach that will get them in the tournament. That's a team that Texas could, bear well against with our experience.
Absolutely. I agree with that, but Tom Izzo definitely scares me a lot in March.
Tom Izzo scares me 24/7. I don't know if I would want to ever do anything wrong to that guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think round of 32 is a reasonable ceiling. I think they'd be lucky to get to the Sweet 16 and even luckier to get to the Elite 8. But let's talk some Texas women's basketball. With the injury to Rory Harmon, it looked like Texas wasn't really going to be one of those upper echelon teams, but they've kind of proven that they still belong here. They may not need their, star guard and Rory Harmon because they have a deep roster. They have lots of talent. Who is your MVP for the women's team this year after Rory went down?
I think there's only one answer, and I think it's got to be 100% Madison Booker. She's averaging 16, 4, and 5. And she's just dominant. I mean, she averages a whole 9 more points than any other player on the team. And she's really stepped up after the injury. I think that she is just clearly by far the MVP. We talked earlier about that call against her, the traveling call against OU. That was awful. But this Texas women's basketball team, they're well coached. They have a lot of experience. Last year they came up short to Louisville, who had Haley Van Lith. But I really believe in this team despite their injury. I think that they can go through the adversity.
Yeah, they have a lot of shooting, they have a lot of depth, they have a star player. I gotta agree, it's been Madison Booker. She looks like Kevin Durant reincarnated for this Texas women's team. Wears number 35, has a game that's very similar, hits pull-up jumpers like it's nothing. The pull-up midi is easily her favorite shot in the game. She can shoot the 3. Against Oklahoma, yeah, it came in a 1-point loss against a very, very good team. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 steals and 1 block. That is by far one of the craziest all-around stat lines I've seen from a Texas player in a minute. It's been a long time since Texas had someone like Madison Booker that can just catch fire, that plays both ends of the ball. She's strong. She can block up in the post. She can play defense against almost anybody. I really like what Madison Booker's been doing. I think that they have a really good shot to make a Final Four run this year. They'll be a 1 or a 2 seed come tournament time. And I think that Texas is ready to go. Coach Schaefer has them ready. And like I said, like you said, Madison Booker, I mean, she's easily been the MVP for this Texas team so far.
Yeah, and then on the women's side, who would you like to see them play in the tournament if you had to pick?
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it matters at all. I think they're going to be, like I said, a 1 or a 2 seed. And I don't see this team getting upset come March, at least in the first or second round. They've played a lot of really good teams in the Big 12. They've handled adversity really, really well, and I think that's really key when you get into March Madness. You have to be able to handle adversity. You have to handle when a team goes on a 10 or a 12-0 run to take a 6-point lead with 7 minutes to go. You have to be able to handle those things, and Texas does that really well. They've done it all season long. They've beaten high-quality teams all year, and so I don't think it matters early in the tournament who they play. What about you?
Yeah, I think, I talked about them earlier, but I think a matchup against the Iowa Hawkeyes would not be that bad of a matchup for Texas. This is a team that they shoot the ball a lot, but also Texas does too. And Texas, one thing about their women's team is they have great defense. And I think that if they could get in a game with them where they could outshoot them, out-rebound them too, that would be a very important part of that. I think that would not only be very entertaining, but I think I would give Texas women, I think that would give them a pretty good shot of winning that. But okay, that is going to be it for this block. Coming up next, Stella will rejoin us and we'll get through some pick'ems. You don't want to miss it. welcome back to the 1-0 Sports Show. We are rejoined by our guest host, Stella Laitmna. Stella, let's get into some pick'ems. So, starting off, Texas baseball, number 15 Texas is taking on number 3 LSU tonight at 7 on LHN. Stella, who do you have winning this game?
I'm going to have to go with LSU. LSU has won 3 straight games, and they're currently ranked 2nd in the nation. They beat Texas 3-0 last year, and I think they're hungry for a repeat.
Yeah. Goose, what about you?
Yeah, this is a pick that, honestly, coming into the show, I still could not make up my mind. I think I have to go with LSU. I don't think Texas has been tested enough against some really good teams this season. So I think LSU has the edge in this one. I got to go with LSU. Tigers get this one tonight.
Yeah, our guest that we had on earlier, Zach, he talked about hot bats. And if I want to see some hot bats, I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorns to get the upset victory over LSU.
Okay.
So, and then moving on to some NBA, we have the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Boston Celtics tonight. Goose, who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, Boston at home is almost unbeatable. I think they're, 26-3, 27-3 or something like that, with losses to, like, a Lakers team without LeBron James. I think Boston wins handily. As good as Luka is, I think the Mavericks will stay in it. I just don't think they win.
I'm going to have to disagree. I think the Mavericks are going to win. I think Doncic will lead them to a victory over Jason Tatum and the Celtics.
Yeah, I agree with Stella. The Mavs are 8-2 in their last 10 games, and since that PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford trade, things have looked different from them. They've been able to dominate on defense, dominate with rebounding and size. And I really believe that this is a statement game for Luka. If he wants to make a case for his MVP, this is going to be where it's at. Other games in the association, the Sacramento Kings take on the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight at 7. Stella, what are you thinking for this one?
Well, with this series being tied 1-1 and both of these teams being pretty dominant in the Western Conference, it's hard to pick. But I'd have to go with Minnesota just because they're coming off a win against Memphis, and I think that they'll ride that high.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think that Minnesota matches up really, really well with the Sacramento Kings. Big interior defense. The Kings, De'Aaron Fox likes to drive to the basket. If Keegan Murray isn't hitting his shots, then I think it's going to be really tough for Sacramento to take this one. So I got Minnesota squeaking this one out at home.
Yeah, I think Minnesota Timberwolves can win this game by 20 points. I think the Kings have really struggled compared to what they had last season. Sabonis, he's climbing up that MVP ladder, but we've kind of seen a tiny bit of a downgrade from the role players like Kevin Huerter, like a Malik Monk, and I think for that reason the Timberwolves will get a win at home. Moving on to some NHL. The New York Rangers are taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs Saturday. Stella, I know you love hockey. We talked about it earlier. I think you're going to have a good pick for this one. Give it to us.
Let's go Rangers. The Rangers are 11-1 in their last 12 games, and with Matt Remps recently stirring up the pot with his physicality, I think the New York Rangers are the team to look out for right now.
You know what, Stella? I think you convinced me to pick the Rangers as well. 11-1 in the last 12 is really, really tough to beat. I'm going to have to go with the Rangers in this one. Again, I don't watch a lot of hockey, but I'm going to be tuned in on Saturday to see if I can get this pick right.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the clean sweep. I think the Rangers are going to win. I love seeing the aggression from Matt Remp. A lot of first period fights, which I feel like it's a very good spectacle. But okay, moving back to the association, we actually do have one more game. We have the Denver Nuggets taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, in the last year, this has kind of become somewhat of a rivalry, with Mike Malone claiming himself as the Lakers' daddy in their championship parade. So, Goose, what do you think LeBron's going to do to respond to that? Do you think he can?
I think Michael Malone's right. I think the Nuggets just have the Lakers' number. They have not been able to get over the massive hump that is Nikola Jokic, and I think that Denver takes this one once again on Saturday in prime time. Even though it's in LA, that didn't seem to faze Denver at all in the playoffs last year. It hasn't fazed them this year, so I'm going with Denver.
I would definitely agree. I think Denver, just because the Lakers look like a losing team this season, they don't look dominant. I think the record's like 27-25, something along those lines. Not great.
Only a few games above 500, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a clean sweep again. The Denver Nuggets, they're 7-0 in their last 7 matchups against the Lakers. They have their number. Jamal Murray is also a guy to watch out for in this game. He's a very inconsistent player. I know there's some talk about when he goes off, that means the team's, a contender. But Jamal Murray and Jokic, they love this matchup. The Nuggets are not going to be caught sleeping. Give me the Nuggets. Moving on to some Texas women's hoop. They're taking on BYU Saturday at 7. Stella, who do you got in this one?
I think Texas wins big after the heartbreaking 71-70 loss to Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Heartbreaking.
this one doesn't have a lot of Big 12 conference implications, but I think that Vic Schaefer is really going to want to make a statement in this game, heading into the Big 12 tournament. Take down BYU in dominant fashion. I'm going to be there covering the game for TSTV. I think Texas wins by 15 to 20 in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a clean sweep for our third game in a row. Horns, give me the Horns by 90 in this one. I think coming off a loss, Vic Schaefer, like you said, is going to make a statement. This is a big game for them at home. They're not going to be caught sleeping. Give me the Longhorns. Moving on to the men's side of the game, we have a big matchup in Waco as Baylor takes on number 7 Kansas Saturday at 12. Stella, who's winning this one?
I'm going to give Baylor a narrow win just because of the home advantage. I think that they will beat Kansas.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick at all. I was kind of going back and forth. I think this is going to be a really, really close game. But I think Kansas, coming off that loss at home to BYU, is going to be locked in for this one. They need to get some momentum going heading into March. So I think that Kansas gets it done in a matinee matchup on Saturday.
Yeah. At Baylor, they've built a beautiful new stadium in Foster Pavilion, but they've had some heartbreaking losses, including last Saturday in Houston and the triple overtime loss to TCU. Kansas coming off a loss at home to BYU. I think Bill Self, this is the time of the season where he really needs to start turning it around. We're already in March. We're coming up on just days until the tournament. I think Kansas wins by 5 on the road. Another big matchup in college hoops. We got number 5 Marquette at number 12 Creighton. Creighton recently beat UConn, but then lost at home. Who do you think is going to win this one, Goose?
Yeah, I got the Blue Jays. I watched them take down UConn in dominant fashion not too long ago. I really like Ryan Kalkbrenner. They shoot a lot of threes. They make them at a high percentage. And at home, in a big matchup on Saturday, that stadium is going to be rocking. So give me the Blue Jays.
I'm going to go with Creighton just because of the home advantage. They're pretty accurate with their threes, and I think that they will beat Marquette.
Yeah, I think this is going to be our 4th sweep. I'm going to also go with the Blue Jays. I have a little bit of emotional attachment to this team. I like, I've watched them over the years. I went and saw them play in person in 2022, and they've just gotten better, and they've been able to maintain that same core. And we saw that home court advantage against UConn with their court storming. Also, just not a big fan of Shaka Smart coached teams, to be honest. So, moving on. Let's move on to number 4 Tennessee is facing Alabama on the road. I'm going to start this one off. Give me Tennessee. Give me Dalton Connect. This guy is by far the best player in the men's game. He is averaging, I don't know, it feels like he's averaging 40 points a game with the way that he shoots the ball. He's 6'6", just a physical specimen. Tennessee goes in and spoils Alabama for the 2nd Saturday in a row. Stella, what do you think?
I'm going to have to disagree. I'm going to go with Bama. I think with all the students and college game day being there, they're going to bring the energy, and they've been playing pretty well this season. So I'm going to give the edge to Bama. I think Bama wins.
Yeah, Santi, I think we're on fraud watch for Tennessee, to be honest with you. In Tuscaloosa, like Stella said, with college game day on the scene, Jay Williams took some shots at Alabama's home court advantage earlier this season. And with college game day there, that school is going to come ready. They always do, and I got Alabama. It's really tough in college basketball to win on the road in tough environments. So give me Bama by 5 to 10.
Yeah, hopefully the crowd sounds better than a tennis match. But we'll see, Jay Williams. Moving on to our last matchup of the week, we have Texas is taking on Oklahoma State at the Moody Center at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Stella, who are you thinking for this game?
Horns all the way. I think that Texas has something to prove, and I think that we want it bad. And hopefully me being there will bring good luck to me.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree myself. Give me the Horns by 50. I think that they could actually win this game by 50. They played a great game against West Virginia, similar to this. They've had a few days of rest since that Texas Tech game to calm down, kind of let the emotions of that game wear off. I think that they, again, have something to prove. They need to prove that they're a legit team. They need to show some consistency. Give me the Longhorns.
Santi, if they win this game by 50, I will go jump in the fountain after the game. I will make that. I will say that live on air. Yeah, I got to go with Texas as well. I don't think they win by 50, but I think they win by 10 to 15. They need this one, and they need it badly for the resume to get a higher seed in the tournament, to get some momentum going into the Big 12 tournament. I think that they win by 10, 15, maybe 20. But this is going to be a game that Rodney Terry really needs, that Texas really needs. And at home with the corral there, I think Texas wins.
Yeah, shout out to Rodney Terry picking it up. But that is going to be it for us this morning. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to our producer, TJ Krylowitz. Make sure to check out our sister shows, College Crossfire and College Press Box. And join us next week on the 1-0 Sports Show. Thanks for tuning in.